Imagine an invisible empire that fuels the world's economy. This empire is the realm of intellectual property rights. It's the pulsing heart of modern commerce, the lifeblood of innovation, and the silent guardian of creativity. Patents and copyrights, the twin pillars of this kingdom, play a role of paramount significance in today's world. These rights, as intangible as they may seem, have tangible impacts. They spur economic growth, foster innovation, and safeguard the fruits of creative minds. They are the unsung heroes behind the scenes, powering the engines of industries, from technology to entertainment, pharmaceuticals to fashion. Globally, these rights are governed by a nearly unified set of rules, creating an international framework that not only protects, but also encourages creativity and innovation. The system is not without its flaws and controversies, but its importance remains undeniable. Now let's delve into the history of this invisible empire and see how it has shaped the world of creativity and innovation. In the beginning, there were ideas, and these ideas sparked change. These were the early days of human civilization, when creativity was as raw as the materials used to manifest it. Innovators of the time were not just thinkers, they were doers, driven by an innate desire to shape the world around them. Over time, this spirit of innovation became an integral part of human culture, and it was rewarded in various ways. In these early stages, creativity was not fenced in by legal boundaries. The wheel, for instance, wasn't patented. The individual or individuals who first conceived it were motivated not by wealth or fame, but by the simple need to ease the burden of labor. The reward was in the utility of the invention itself and the progress it represented. However, as societies evolved, so did the nature of creativity. The masters of their crafts, the early innovators, began to realize the value of their unique skills and ideas. Some chose to guard their secrets closely, passing them on to a select few, while others sought fame and recognition, finding protection in the public's knowledge of their contribution. And then there were those who were simply hired for their skills, their creativity contracted and controlled by those with resources. But throughout this period, one thing remained consistent: the driving force behind creativity and innovation. It was the human desire to solve problems, to improve, to progress. This was the flame that fueled the dawn of innovation, a flame that was not to be extinguished by any means. However, as societies became more complex, as inventions became more sophisticated, it became increasingly clear that a more formal system was needed. The system had to balance the rights of the innovators with the need for societal progress, a system that would ensure fair reward for creativity, yet not stifle the free flow of ideas. As time passed, the need to formalize authors' rights grew, giving birth to the concept of intellectual property rights. The birth of intellectual property rights was a turning point in the history of creativity and innovation. The first glimmers of this change emerged during the Renaissance, the golden age of art and science. As creative and inventive minds began to flourish, the need to protect their ideas became increasingly apparent. The first formal patent law was enacted in Venice in the year 1474. This law provided an exclusive right for inventors to use and profit from their creations for a limited period. It was the first legal recognition that ideas have value and that this value should be protected. In the realm of literature, the concept of copyright emerged in the early 18th century. The British Statute of Anne, passed in 1710, is often recognized as the first copyright law. It granted authors exclusive rights to their work for a set period, protecting them from the rampant piracy of the time. As societies evolved, so did their understanding of the importance of intellectual property rights. The laws became more widespread, crossing borders and oceans. In the late 19th century, the Paris and Berne Conventions laid the groundwork for international recognition and protection of patents and copyrights. The world began to understand that these rights were not just about protecting individual creators, but about fostering an environment where creativity and innovation could thrive. Lawmakers saw intellectual property rights as a necessary compromise. In order to encourage creativity and innovation, they believed it was essential to provide creators with a temporary monopoly over their work. This monopoly gave creators the security to invest time and resources into their ideas, knowing that they would have exclusive rights to profit from their creation. Yet, the birth of intellectual property rights was not just about granting freedom to creators, it was also about imposing certain limitations. Intellectual property rights, while appearing as a freedom, are actually a limitation of freedom, granting a monopoly of sorts. They limit the use of creative works and inventions, restricting who can use, reproduce, or profit from them. This balancing act between freedom and limitation is at the heart of the intellectual property debate, a debate that continues to evolve even today. Like all things, intellectual property rights have evolved over time, adapting to the changing world. The evolution of intellectual property rights is a tale filled with organizations, legislation, quarrels, copyright infringements, and restrictions. It's a story of a world striving for balance between the rights of creators and the needs of society. As the economic importance of creativity grew, so did the need for organizations to oversee and protect these rights. Institutions like the United States Patent and Trademark Office, the European Patent Office, and the World Intellectual Property Organization emerged as guardians of intellectual property, setting the stage for a globalized system of rules and regulations. Legislation, too, has played a significant role in shaping the landscape of intellectual property rights. From the Statute of Anne in the early 18th century, considered the first real copyright law, to the Berne Convention, which established international recognition of copyrights, the laws have evolved in response to society's changing needs and technologies. But the path hasn't always been smooth. Intellectual property rights have been and continue to be a battleground for high-profile disputes and infringements. The infamous feud between Thomas Edison and George Westinghouse over alternating current is a classic example of such a battle. More recently, we've seen legal tussles in the tech world over proprietary software and patented technologies. Restrictions are another aspect of this evolution. Intellectual property rights do not cover everything. Styles, ideas, food recipes, for instance, are beyond the scope of protection. Additionally, certain exceptions like fair use and parody are allowed under copyright law, providing some flexibility and fostering creativity. Yet, it's important to remember that intellectual property rights are not a freedom. They are, in essence, a temporary monopoly granted to creators, a limitation of freedom that serves a greater purpose, to incentivize innovation and safeguard the fruit of one's labor. Just when we thought we had it all figured out, technology introduced new challenges to the world of intellectual property rights. As we plunge into the digital age, the evolution of intellectual property rights is far from over. It's a dynamic field, ever adapting and evolving to meet the demands of our rapidly changing world. In the age of AI and 3D printing, the lines of intellectual property rights are becoming blurred. As we enter into this brave new world, we find ourselves grappling with unprecedented challenges and questions. The advent of 3D printing and AI technologies has altered the traditional landscape of intellectual property. When anyone with a 3D printer can modify and reproduce a patented object, or when an AI can generate a piece of art or music that mirrors an existing copyrighted piece, how do we determine infringement? And more importantly, how do we enforce these boundaries? The sheer volume of work being produced by AI and 3D printing technologies complicates matters further. Trillions of creations, each potentially infringing on existing patents or copyrights in minor ways. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack, and even if you do find it, would the cost of litigation be worth it? But perhaps the most pressing question is not how we can adapt our old laws to fit this new reality, but whether we should be trying to fit this square peg into a round hole at all. Intellectual property rights were designed to protect creators and innovators, to ensure they could reap the rewards of their efforts. But in an age where the creator can be a machine, and innovation can be as simple as pressing print, do these old protections still apply? As we navigate this new era, we must question the original purpose of intellectual property rights. Were they not meant to spur creativity and innovation, to protect and encourage the pioneers of new ideas? And if that's the case, Are they still serving their purpose in a world of AI and 3D printing? Or are they becoming barriers to the very progress they were designed to foster? As we move forward, it's clear that our understanding and handling of intellectual property rights will need to evolve. We need to strike a balance that continues to protect the rights of creators and innovators while also facilitating the boundless possibilities that AI and 3D printing offer. As we navigate this new era, we must question the original purpose of intellectual property rights and whether they still serve society. As we stand at the crossroads, the future of intellectual property rights is uncertain. With technological advancements rapidly changing the landscape, the traditional frameworks of patents and copyrights are being challenged. In one scenario, we may see a global society that embraces the unrestricted flow of creativity, where AI-assisted innovation thrives without the constraints of intellectual property laws. This could foster an unprecedented era of global collaboration and creativity. On the other hand, we may see stronger enforcement of intellectual property rights, with new laws and regulations adapting to the realities of AI and 3D printing. This could ensure fair compensation for creators and innovators, preserving the incentive to create and innovate. The tension between these two paths mirrors the global economic divide, with different blocs potentially favoring different approaches. No matter the path we choose, the journey will undoubtedly be a fascinating one. The invisible empire of intellectual property rights will continue to influence the course of creativity and innovation.